let me tell you something about Walmart. This was before my tenure, but I've been told one of my predecessors had established a committee of CEOs from various retailers that would come in to advise us as to directions they saw retail, and then we would talk to them about what we were learning and doing and getting their opinion, not disclosing unannounced product, but prior to that we were in research mode. And one of the first members of that group that showed up was Sam Walton. Now, people might not normally think of Sam Walton as being a technology guru, but he was a member of that group. And then he saw to it that Jack Shoemaker, who was a senior VP, along with David Glass, Jack Shoemaker became very active and demanding. Active and demanding. And if you're active, you could deserve to be demanding. And they pushed us. But they pushed us with knowledge of an understanding of how much technology could do for their company. They had the sense of it. They needed and wanted a partner who could work with them to gain that advantage. And if you wanted to partner with them, you had to prove it. You had to bring it. And I can remember one time that Jack Shoemaker called and said I had just been appointed to the job, so this would have been around '84. Don Shropshire was the head of the lab, the retail store, so he was the Mr. Development, I was Mr. Marketing. And we had a lot of experience with the point of sale, and which was the 3600 product line at the time. 3660 grocery, 3650 general merchandise. And but Jack called and he wanted to see Don and I the next Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Well, when Jack Shoemaker calls, and it could have been somebody from the Gap, it could have been somebody like that calls, you do what you got to do. Well, it turns out that I was based in New York at the time. Don was based in Raleigh. Don had an important engagement in Chicago on Monday with another very large and very demanding and deserving company called Sears. I had a commitment on Monday in Raleigh. I can't remember which customer was going to be. There was no way that Don and I were going to be able to get to Bentonville, Arkansas. No way. So I told my secretary, I says, charter me a flight, take me from here up to Chicago, pick up Don, and we'll go down to Bentonville. She says, well, I've got to get approval, and it's Friday. She says, well, we got to get all kinds of approval. And I says, we'll ask for approval on Wednesday. And she looked at me and I said, get me a private jet. In an IBM, you didn't do those things then. I don't think you do them now. But I had a feeling this was a moment. And so I flew up, I got picked up dawn, we got down, we landed at 9, we got picked up by the local IBMers. 10 o'clock, I'm in Jack Shoemaker's office with Don. And what he wanted, and it was simple, he didn't want to know any details. He wanted to say, I want to look you two guys in the eye and ask if you are deadly serious about doing more in the retail business. And I didn't want a letter, I didn't want a phone call. I want to look you in the eye. And that led to about a 20-minute interesting conversation, which evidently satisfied him because we were both dedicated to being even more than we were. And we didn't disclose anything except our commitment. That's what he wanted, because he knew enough about us to know if IBM wants to do something, it will do it. If it really wants to do it, it will do it. It won't get shoved aside at some last minute prioritization.